Hello! It is officially the start of spooky season. Whenever we have one of the personal planets enter the realm of space known as Scorpio, it is the beginning, for all intents and purposes, of Halloween season. And of course, culminating with the sun and Scorpio, Halloween actually itself. But regardless, this is very exciting. Venus just went into Scorpio, and the moon is also in Scorpio. So this is a cool beginning to explore what this Scorpio season has to offer. Naturally, the moon in Scorpio will only be with us for about another day and a half, something like that. So essentially Saturday, the first part of Sunday, in the early morning we'll switch over to Sagittarius. But we have Venus in Scorpio for the next several weeks, probably about 2.5, 3 weeks, something like that. And there's so much to talk about. This is my favorite time all year. But let's start with some of the obvious challenges that we just want to keep in mind as always, and just seek to make the most of and to work with, so that we can access the beautiful gifts. The obvious challenge, I think, here with transiting Moon and Venus in Scorpio is to get caught up in our emotions, to get caught up in unhealthy emotional behaviors, potentially. Again, as always, it's all about awareness and practice implementing this awareness. So even just knowing this, like, oh right, okay, gotta make sure I don't go down that road, I gotta make sure I'm checking myself, then we can absolutely avoid all of this. We can access all of the good stuff, which we'll get to in just a moment. But I think that both of these energies are quite challenging on their own, especially together. They can be a little bit difficult when it comes to, I think, especially fixating emotionally on relationships. Venus is relationships, the moon is about emotions. And so we just want to keep things in perspective. We don't want to, whether it's a romantic relationship or a platonic relationship, we want to make sure that we're being healthy, we're bringing our best to the relationship. We can't control what other people bring. And really, this also goes for just any kind of interaction that we could go through in life. We can't control what other people bring, but we can at least control or guide effectively, as I like to say, our own 50% of the interactions of the relationship in general. So I think keeping that in mind and just really staying rooted and staying focused on bringing the best out of yourself is absolutely the best way to get through the next couple of days. So again, basically, emotionally, we just want to be very clear with ourselves about what we're feeling, why we're feeling it. If we need time on our own to sort through this stuff, then we need to give ourselves that time instead of putting ourselves in a stressful situation around other people potentially, because then we're just going to eke out, we're going to spill over those emotions on other people, and that's only making things more challenging. So I think for all of us, especially for this weekend, but really for the next couple of weeks with Venus and Scorpio, it's really good to take care of ourselves. It's really good it's always good to do that, but it's always, with this time period, it's even more imperative that we take care of our emotional well-being. And again, we take time to be on our own. We take time to really go into our emotional depths. So those are the challenges. The great gifts is there's so many. Early this morning, I ended up writing song lyrics to 2 songs that have been with me for several months, and one of them was Edgar Allan Poe themed, and I think that's the perfect example of these energies and what they offer us. We can get into the deep, the scary, the transformative. It's a great time to be pushing our emotions forward in a way. And of course, horror can be a really exciting way to do that, and make us feel alive and woo, and feel deeply. But there's so many different ways, and of course, it's not just about like scary stuff. It's also about transforming emotionally in any kind of way. It's just, I think horror is a big Scorpio thing because it's so extreme. So any kind of extreme, love, extreme, whatever emotions, that is the best part of this. And I think that, the other side of what we were talking about before, of like, okay, we want to make sure we're not obsessive or, emotionally like getting caught in a rut or anything, we want to make sure we're not getting caught in the emotional depths. But the beautiful side of this is we can access those emotional depths very powerfully when we're very clear about what's down there, about who we are subconsciously. And of course, naturally, we are always seeking to, our unconscious is unlimited, it's infinite, so we're always learning who we are, who we're not, what we feel like doing, etc. But when we've made a lot of progress in consciously making the unconscious conscious, when we made the unconscious conscious really well, we've done that self-work, then we can have a wonderful time. Honestly, I'm really enjoying this transit already, not just with writing lyrics, but just the feeling of it. It's like, it's nice to settle into some depths. As always, as I say every single time a new transit happens, I'm always eager for a new transit. I'm not like looking ahead or anything. It just, they actually kind of creep up on me, like, oh, Venus is in Scorpio today. Oh, whoa. But it's really exciting. It's really, really exciting when it does happen, because the energy shifts. It's like, okay, cool. That story, for example, what we've been experiencing for the last like 3 weeks or so with Venus and Libra, that chapter is now complete, and we're now furthering that story with a new chapter, with new themes, with new character development for us as human beings, and it's a wonderful opportunity to look ahead. Okay, how are we going to grow in the next 3 weeks, especially with all this Scorpio energy, because Scorpio energy is the time all year, whether we consciously will it or not. And of course, if we consciously go with the flow, it's so much easier, so much better. Even when it's challenging, it's so much better. And this is true, of course, throughout the entire year, throughout all of our lives. But with Scorpio season, whether we like it or not, the subconscious will be coming forward. The depths, the emotional depths will come up. And well, again, when we've done work, then this is a really lovely time, and we can actually settle into our emotional depths and feel a deeper connection to ourselves and to others. And it's lovely. There's nothing wrong with any energy, I don't mean to juxtapose by saying this energy is better than Venus and Libra. That's not at all what I mean. The Venus and Libra time was a really lovely time of keeping diplomatic harmony and social cohesion in our relationships. And what's beautiful now is with Venus and Scorpio, now we can go deeper. It's like, okay, cool. Those relationships that are true, that are at their core, they're motivated by good, healthy emotional behaviors. They're just going to keep getting better over these next couple of weeks, and in some really profound ways too. It's really deep, so it's very exciting. We have a lot of Scorpio ahead of us. Of course, naturally, as with every year, we've got the personal planets. We got Venus now in Scorpio. We have Mercury going into Scorpio. It's not until pretty much the end of October, if I'm not mistaken, because we're doing with the Mercury retrograde starting in about 17 days, and we'll go into that when the time comes. And naturally, the Sun will go into Scorpio, but also it's really cool. I found this out the other day, that during this Scorpio season, which again, we're still a good month and a half away from, but it's kind of looking ahead, because I think a lot of the themes that are coming up now in our relationships are going to directly influence what it is that this Scorpio season is all about, because technically Scorpio seasons began in a way because Venus is there. Excuse me. But yeah, this Scorpio season is one of the rare seasons. I mean, I don't know when the last time this happened. It certainly doesn't happen even every other year. I would imagine, this is just an estimated guess. Estimated guess? Whatever. This is an estimate, but probably maybe like for one sun season every, I don't know, it could be 10 years, it could be 20 years, I don't know, but certainly it's not a common thing to have Mars and the sun be in a particular energy at the same time. Obviously it happens every year, but not that particular energy or that particular, it's only going to happen with one sun energy, or maybe 1.5 every year. So anyways, my point is this: the sun and Mars will be in Scorpio together this year, starting in early November. So this is a wonderful opportunity for all of us to really fantastically grow and undergo some amazing transformation and all sorts of good stuff that we'll get into as time goes on. But it begins right here, right now, with Venus and Scorpio. And there's nothing to be afraid of. It's all good. Again, like with every transit, it's all cool. I know some people are like, oh, Scorpio, just like, oh, Gemini, with my sun energy. But and to be fair, that's pretty fair for a lot of Scorpios and Geminis. But it's just energy, and ultimately, if we're working with energy, we can make incredible things happen. So I really encourage you to focus deep. Let's get deep into our relationships. Let's get deep into our relationship with self, especially for this weekend. Let's have fun with Halloween season that has only just begun. It's very exciting. I think the last things to keep in mind, and I think this is actually a really helpful kind of note for all this Scorpio energy, is with Sun and Mars both being in Virgo conjunct, as we've talked about in the last couple of videos. And they're going to continue to be getting closer and closer conjunct. and then they'll be moving on into Libra. So this is a theme that we're going to be seeing for the next several weeks, maybe the next 3 weeks, something like that. Sun and Mars being conjunct in one energy or the next. Focusing on the near future. Well, focusing on the big picture first, and then we'll get into the near future. This is meaning that we have a lot of energy at our disposal. Sun and Mars is about action. It's about expressing self, being very consciously focused, because that's the sun energy, what we're very profoundly conscious of. Or at least it's a lot easier to become conscious of this than other parts of our chart. So how do we get our act together? That is what Sun and Mars conjunct in Virgo is all about. How do we get the details of our life to function? What do we need to fix? What do we need to build? What do we need to upgrade? And I think that as long as we're doing that, as long as we're making sure to get all this energy out, and again, another thing, it's not just about building professionally and whatnot, and really building in every part of our life, but I think especially professional skills are coming to the foreground. But also, again, it's that simple, just working out, just moving your body, your mind, exhausting your mind-body connection. You have to exhaust both parts of the connection, and Virgo is all about the mind-body. So exhausting the mind with the professional skill development, absolutely, but we all need to exhaust the body to truly settle into these deeper gifts, especially with this weekend. But again, we're in Scorpio season, at least for the Venus and then Mercury and all that stuff, like I was saying. So it's begun. We need to, because Scorpio is ruled by Mars, so this conjunction is coming to the foreground even more so than it already was, and it was already before, very powerfully. But we have a choice here. Either we can experience a lot of anxiety and frustration and lashing out and being in a funk emotionally, or we can understand, okay, what do I need to get done? And what is my plan, my solid plan? Like a really good friend of mine who has a lot of Virgo loves to say, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. It's that simple. This stuff is, in general, it's pretty straightforward, but I think especially when it comes to earth energy, it's like, are you reaching your goals or are you not? Okay, if you're not reaching your goals, first of all, what are your goals? Okay, let's make sure these are your true goals, really in depth to what you need. Okay, cool, that's established. How do we achieve that goal? Before we look at timeline or anything, what are the functional actions, what are the steps to reaching that goal? Okay, now let's look at timeline and we break it down. So as long as we're focused on that, then I think we're going to be able to really settle into this emotional depths really enjoyingly. It's not an adverb, especially for this weekend. And it's beautiful. One last thing, I'm just noticing looking at the chart, Neptune is opposite Sun and Mars. So if it's like I've said before, but I think even more so with all the Scorpio energy, if you're having a difficult time figuring out what your goals are, what it is that you should be working on to give yourself peace of mind, meditate. Yes, exercise is a great way to meditate too, meditation and motion. So you can that's one way to get deeper into yourself, but I think meditating is probably one of the best ways, especially since with the Scorpio energy, we can go even deeper into ourselves. And with the Mercury and Libra transit that we're going through as well, it gives us ideas. It helps us to tap into our deeper parts of our consciousness. We're actually shifting our brain wavelengths when we meditate. So meditating is a really good way to ease stress and anxiety, of course, during any time period, but especially over the next week and a half is going to be a very intense week. It can be an intense week in a wonderful way, or it can be an intense week in a really challenging way. And it all is up to us. If we focus on our conscious needs and our conscious development and connecting with our unconscious, consciously, if we really focus on these things, then we'll have a wonderful, intense time. If we ignore these things, if we're giving in to unhealthy behaviors, if we're self-sabotaging, etc., challenging intensity, and then we'll have to learn the hard way. So let's learn the easy way. Let's get the good stuff. That's what. Why not? That's what it's all about. Infinite love to you, my friends. As always, I'm doing readings. Feel free to get in contact with me in the About section. Namaste. Peace.